Good morning, everybody. Good morning from Gdansk in Poland, the northernmost part of our journey of 11 days, and also the last stop that we make on this journey. We're going home from Gdansk in a couple of days from now. I want to tell you about my visit and our visit in Auschwitz a couple of days ago. We went, when we were in Krakow, took a train from Krakow to Auschwitz, as it is called in Polish, and went to the concentration and extermination camp of Auschwitz and Auschwitz-Birkenau, and it was, as expected, it was an overwhelming experience. Thousands of people go there. It was very crowded. Lots of tours were made in different languages. They have guided tours in English, French, Spanish, Russian, German, Polish, and so on. And we went there together with a bunch of Germans, like 25 other people, and we're guided by a woman called Daria, who made an excellent guiding tour for us, 3.5 hours through first the base camp at Auschwitz. That was the first, I understood, that was the first camp that was built in, it was not built, it was actually stolen, taken away from the Polish army in 1940. To accommodate first and foremost Polish prisoners and some Russian prisoners. But then when the Nazis discussed and established the so-called final solution, which is a very euphemistic word for murdering millions of Jews, they sort of changed the character of the camp, and they extended the camp enormously in Birkenau, 3 kilometers from the base camp. From Auschwitz I, there's Auschwitz II, which is Birkenau, with dozens and dozens of barracks where they accommodated at the most 96,000 people. And it's unimaginable. We all know a lot of things, I think, about Auschwitz and what happened there, and what happened during the Holocaust in the Second World War. But coming to this place, seeing the quiet on a very hot, warm summer day, and then imagining that there were 96,000 people at the most, when there were the most people there in this area in Birkenau, at the worst conditions that you can imagine, 1,000 people in each of these small houses where 8 people were sleeping on one surface, and the weakest people were sleeping on the ground in the mud, where rats would come and bite them and eat them alive, where people were fighting against each other in order to catch the last piece of bread, and where 80% of all the arrivals of all the people, and actually all the children under 16 years, went directly to the gas chambers of Auschwitz I, where they had a small gas chamber, and then industrializing death in Birkenau, in Auschwitz II, where they had 2 big chambers where they murdered people right away under the worst conditions. You can visit the gas chamber in Auschwitz I, because in Auschwitz II the Nazis they definitely destroyed the gas chambers in order to hide their crimes from the world when the Soviet army came closer and closer in 1945. But you can see the gas chamber in Auschwitz I, and you can go in there actually, and you can see the scratch marks of the people who desperately tried to get out, who realized that they were dying and they were suffocating to death with worst pain you can imagine. This is so important to go there, so important to get that information, to get that feeling, to have seen this in order to tell the world, and that's what I'm doing with this video, to tell the world what has happened there, and that you have seen it to the next generation, because there are people out there who actually frankly deny that this has ever happened, and this is such a crime in itself, a crime against the 1.1 to 1.5 million people who were murdered in Auschwitz by German Nazis and their helpers. The camp needs your attention, but I think the most important thing is to tell the story and to retell the story, and that's why I also want to mention 2 books here that are dealing with this. There are a couple of really stories, great stories by survivors of Auschwitz and Birkenau, And one of the most famous, of course, is Elie Wiesel, the Peace Nobel Prize winner, laureate. He wrote a book called Night about his experience and about the family that he lost. There is another account by a Hungarian woman called Edith Eger. She lived in the United States most of her life after Auschwitz, who has written a book that was published in 2017. Which I think is telling you a very good, giving you a very good account of what has happened there. And there are lots of very good videos out there on YouTube. For example, I learned the evening after I was there, I saw the video of Kitty is her name, a woman who went to England after the Second World War, who survived Auschwitz miraculously, and who has revisited the camp first, I think, in the 1970s or 80s, in the 80s probably, with her then young son, and then very late in the 2010s with two 17-year-old British girls, where she's explaining to these girls and answering the questions to these girls, that when she was in the same age as these two British girls who live beautiful young lives in the UK now, she told them that when she was 17, she went to Auschwitz. I can't summarize really what it is to go there, but you should actually go there, and you should imagine what can happen when the worst of humankind is sort of practicing its devilish work on other human beings, when there's no more respect for life. And we live in a time where not this directly can happen again, but where we are about to lose respect and tolerance and affection to other people. And this is so dangerous, and we should remind ourselves what that in the ultimate sense can lead to. Thank you very much for watching this video. Support Auschwitz.org, and I see you in another video soon. Bye.